Hey, what's good, people? This is the Option Podcast. This is episode 116. Wow. That guy's Gene Dolan. There he is. And the episode starts right now. What's up? This is episode 116 of the Option Podcast. You ask and you shall receive, because for me, I've got to give the people what they want. That man, Gene Dolan.
Hey, Chase. Great to be here with you.
And of course, look who's back. My homie, my life force, my savior. Let's tell Miranda some good news. We got some new equipment we can play around with. She's like, great. She's like, great. Something else I need to learn.
A little scary, but we'll make it happen.
Oh, man. What the hell were we talking about before we got on the podcast? This is what I forget.
I just wanted to talk and get into an hour-long conversation.
Oh, was it Di Matteo? Was it people cleaning up after themselves? Oh, no. We were talking
the
about...
pizza thing.
We were talking... Yeah, look. So Miranda, ladies and gentlemen, Miranda, that's her. Say hi.
Hi.
Miranda, I like how that camera's just like jumping around on you like it's got no business. Yeah, that was weird. That's on camera. But Miranda has a roommate that makes his own pizza.
Woohoo! Yay, Nick.
So before we got into the podcast, we were, Nick Di Matteo, tag you. But we were talking about coaches that I try to look up. Like I try to do, like we know each other, and we've had conversations. Like we're a couple of fellas basically right now, right? We're a couple of good fellas.
We see things the way they need to be seen.
Yeah, and that includes the things that we don't like technically see exactly the same. Your reasoning is logical.
The thing for me, as far as coaching, is however you see things analytically. I look at things very geometrically, so there's a lot of math in what I do. And as a coach, we either reach our people or we don't. It's not just a question of what you see and telling it to them. You have to explain it to them in a manner by which it stays with them, and they can always see it that way. I'll never forget the first time Troy came to me, and he was like, "Gene, I'm not in love with my setting." And I said, "Okay, Troy, this is the way you need to look at as a setter. This is what you need to do. This is how you have to keep your arms and your elbows up, like you're a gunner in a B-17, like you're a tail gunner in a B-17, keeping your eye on the target the whole time." And he said, "Gene, people have been telling me to keep my hands up for years since I've been doing this." And he said, "But you tell it to me in a way by which I just see it. And now I see myself as that gunner, you know?" So it's the way you articulate, right? Articulate your point.
I think you're right. I think Troy has all the tools in the toolbox. The hardware is there, right? The software, and like you said, and people who understand the software. I like how I'm putting this is key. Because Miranda, right? Your boyfriend plays Rob McLean, and we could say almost the same thing about Rob as we could say about Troy Field. And I'm glad you said that, because there are other coaches who would be like, "Oh, so now he gets it. I've been saying it to him the whole way. I've been saying it to him that way the whole time." And I'm like, "Well, you've been saying it to him, but the operative words are not saying it to him. The operative words are that way." So. He's basically, I'm going to shake this. He's lightning in a bottle.
So for me, everybody wants to be confident. And everybody says, "Oh, you have to have a confidence like a Kobe Bryant, like a Wayne Gretzky," just to point out a bunch of, just to take examples. And what do we talk about with confidence? Kobe Bryant, let's just take him for an example. That guy could miss 100 three-pointers in a row. And the next time he gets the ball, he absolutely is 100% sure that the next one is going to go in. That's confidence. right? How do we get confidence? Though a lot of people are like, okay, well, we need to be more confident on the court. What's the recipe for confidence, Jason? The recipe for confidence starts with control. Control leads to comfort. When you're passing well and when you're making good plays and you're controlling that north-south attack on the ball, right? That leads to comfort. When you get into that nice, comfortable groove with your partner, then when you become comfortable on the court, in the sand, passing, moving, right? That leads to consistency. Consistency, that's what leads to confidence. So there's 4 C's there in my recipe book for confidence. And when you're confident, you make split-second decisions like nobody else.
That is a very that is a journey or a path in which all players, or at least all the players I talk to, desire to be. The irony, and I always find like crazy ironic things like this. In order for you to have that control, where you're confident, where like 1-1, like 21-21 still feels like 1-1, where you're not thinking about hitting, you're hitting because you've done it a million times. You know what it feels like. There's no nervous tension. There's no sweat on your palms. And I think in order for people to learn that, or for people who have trouble with that and want to learn that, ironically, to have that control, they have to give up control in practice. So it's so weird, right? You have to give up control to get to a point where you're in total control.
Again, it's the control aspect that leads to consistency and consistent play, right? You cannot. Let me back up. A lot of times when you give up 2 and 3 points in a row and you're forced to take that timeout at a critical point, that to me that's a struggle, right? And when you get your guys out on the sideline and you start talking to them and say, hey, look, yeah, you just gave up 2 or 3 points in a row. Now we're down 2 or 3, right? We've been battling side out, battling. Now you're down. Keep that confidence there, because a lot of times they try to go out and get it all back in 1 point. And they expend too much energy, they expend too much emotional energy, and they get derailed on the objective of the game. So if we have to concede, which we don't want to do, we concede without shaking our confidence and our ability to focus.
Yeah, I think that's where guys like you come into play, and recently I've been more and more on the beach. I think you got a hotel on the beach, an invisible hotel. You just check in, and then you paint it, and the hotel's gone. It looks like the water. I think you basically live on the beach. But for me, I will say this, and I've said this on previous episodes, and you'll appreciate this. Mixed martial artist, retired, Chael Sonnen, MMA personality, was on a reality show, The Ultimate Fighter, and was talking to a kid that kind of had Troy Field hangups, and we're not talking about Troy Field. We're not crapping on him. We're just using him as an example of how he was here at one point and now is at a different place and still on his way. And he said this. He said, "They tell you losing's not an option. That's absolutely ridiculous. Losing is an option. Losing is the most readily available option all the time. Always there for you. Waiting for you there, waiting there when you need it. Hot 97 rhyme ready." So, us as coaches, if we're dealing with one of those people that have a hang up where, like you said, they're just trying to get these points back, not realizing that they win the one, it's just the one. They're not getting 3 points back on one play. When we have kids or adults like this, because you and I, we coach 8 to 80. When we have people like that, we remind them of 2 things. 1, the other team feels the same tension. And 2, it's not an unnatural feeling. The only thing we can do as coaches is give them constant reps where they're comfortable, where they're not thinking about it, they're just doing it. Like I always tell my kids, when you wake up and brush your teeth, do you think about brushing your teeth? It's like, no, such as volleyball. So for us as coaches, we can say, hey, next play, it's only one play, let's go. Or let negative talk creep up in their head. You know, oh, you just gave up 3 points. You know, now we got some catching up to do. And where you put them in this situation where they're fixated on losing is not an option. Losing is not an option. And they keep losing. Then they keep losing. Losing is not an option. And they put themselves in these moments where they're unnecessarily too big. You know, there are moments that are big, okay, that are a real thing. But how you deal with it is a choice. Right, 13 up, game 3. You played all fucking weekend. Let's just use grass for an example from my East Coast people. Pottstown Rumble. That's side out. Okay, side out. Big court. 2-day tournament. It is the most grueling tournament in all of volleyball.
That Pennsylvania
Period.
thing.
Yeah, period.
Yeah.
If you're in the finals, even if you lose, I bow. Okay, because you made it. Now, that 13 up, that situation is more intense. The circumstances are more high. Tensions are high. Butt cheeks get tight, right? Palms get sweaty. And that tension is a real thing. But your ability to deal with it is if it's as if it's just 1-1, day one, is a choice, because that's a controllable that you can exercise outside that prepare you for that situation.
Well, a couple of comments there on this subject. Losing is not an option. That, to me, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. I do not preach that. Okay, so let's dissect that a little bit. If you never get humbled and lose a tough match, you will never get to the top. That's the first thing, okay?
Yep.
The second thing is, again, you have to play your game. And in order to play your game, you have to be confident. Win or lose. Losing not an option is not what I want to hear. If you do lose, you need to walk away with something. We, as a team, your coach, your partner, yourself, we need to walk away with something. Now, when I see guys go out there and play and in a losing, and they're playing a far better team, like Chris Tayler last night for the Dodgers. I mean, the guy just saw it, right? You're not beating him that night. None of the Atlanta Braves were beating him. He was in that zone. That's very rare, and he just saw it, right? But what I ask you to do is play your game. Let's stick to our game plan. This is what we've been working on all week, all month, all season. Let's stick to our game plan, because I need to see where the deficiencies are in the game when we go up against this team. If you go out there and you panic and you lose your confidence and you start inventing stuff in the middle of a match that we should win, and you allow yourselves to be beaten and beaten up because the other team controlled the pace of the game, that's bad. We need to stick to our game. Let me see where the holes are so that we as a team can address this on Monday morning and fold that back into our integral loop, right? Into our engineering loop, right?
Absolutely. Well, I'll share a story with you, and I'll be as fast as I can because this is a podcast, and I know it's reminding our audience it's not an interview. We're just here talking shit. We're two really good. Yeah, man. This is where we want to be. Evolution. You know Duncan Avery.
Yep.
I was coaching his boys 16s. We're playing SCVC. Now SCVC, for the people outside of this region who don't know about club volleyball or don't care, and you really shouldn't, because after high school, it's like, you know, I mean, it's like putting your high school play on your resume. Nobody cares once you're an adult. We're playing a team, SCVC. It's one of the top teams. You know, they're always in the top 15, top 10, whatever, sometimes top 5. And we get baked, like 25-14. So I bring my kids in and I tell them the same thing as you. It was a long version of we win or we learn. It was something John Mayer always tells his kids at LA.
Right.
I said, look, don't be out there being friendly with them, saying nice hit and all that stuff, and forget that you still have a game to play. If that team is 11 points better than you, if I said, do you think that team was 11 points better than you? And they all said no. And I said, then you got to go out there and you got to ball out. You have to play to the maximum of your potential, because you're testing yourself against a good team. And if they're 6 points better, then you could walk away and you learn something. But you're not learning. I said, you're not learning shit. You're not learning the damn thing out there just playing around because you already know you're going to lose. All right. Which is what I was saying about losing is an option. It just sucks. All right. So, and before they came out, I said, don't let 4 letters on the back of someone's jersey or entitle them to think that they're better than you. They gotta earn that buck. So I felt like I did my job. I'm like, good. Now I get to do some stats. I got my assistant coaches. We're doing some numbers. I'm seeing patterns because I look at mathematical patterns on who the setter sets. We're just neck deep, right? And we come back and we win the second set. Okay, holy shit. All right. Okay, I got to prepare for something else. Now we got a shot at winning because it's 1 game of 13. So somehow we get set 3 to 14 up. And we get 15-14 on a net trickler. And I put in the kid who didn't play the whole match. He's maybe like $120, right? He's like 5. His name is Aiden. He's 5'11", 6 feet, but he's really, really skinny. So you know he can get in the air like that guy from Qatar. And I put him at the oppo position. They had a front row setter. I didn't care about their D-zone hitter. I'm like, the D-zone, if they're in system, just give up line. And if that guy can hit the ball in front of us and teabag us, fine. Let's double up that middle. Let's double up that setter. And on the go ball, I just need a big body in front of this guy. So I said, look. I said, right hand in his face. And I said, left hand presses if it's tight and goes, or I said, move it this way. Close the middle if it's away from the net. And I said, if it goes between your hands, position 6 is going to get hit in the face because he's going to see this. And this kid goes up and he on the go ball, because some people, they love the go ball, but they don't have the wrist integrity to do anything about it. And that was the situation I predicted. Like Jibo loves the go ball. Okay, he's got the wrist. And this kid hit it as hard as he could, and it you know what happens when you block a ball, right? When someone hits the ball as hard as you can, boom. And when he landed, everyone went nuts, but I looked at this kid and he turned around. He just goes, he like, what just happened? He didn't celebrate. He didn't celebrate until like 10 seconds. And he goes, there was a sigh of relief. And then he just goes, yes. But the whole time when everyone else is losing his mind, Duncan Avery's there because he's watching the game because Evolution, we're still coming up. Mm-hmm. And it was great. And it was great. And it's a great story to tell because even if we lost that game by 9, it's a good story because we learned something, right? But but man, you mess around, you play to the maximum of your potential. You get a bounce here, you get a bounce there. Next thing you know, you're in a situation where you dare to win. That's what us coaches prepare them for. We prepare them to win or learn. And if they're in those situations where they play over their head, man, just go out there and squeeze out that dub. Sorry, go ahead.
So. I like to look at the game, again, like we talked about. I look at it mathematically, angles and stuff like that. But the real thing that we look at on the court is this game, like many other team sports, soccer, hockey, and stuff like that, basketball, they're chaos. They are based on chaoticness, right? You, on defense, are trying to normalize where the ball goes so that you can get a good pass off, so that you can set up for your hit, so that you have a direct line approach. 2-man volleyball, okay? Not 6.
And definitely not 9.
Definitely not 9. Right.
I was going to have Miranda pull up a Chinese 9-man, but
I used to know a guy who used to play on that. 6'5", biggest Vietnamese guy I've ever seen. Paul Nguyen used to be on that Chinese 9-man. That was crazy. Yeah, and because big betting on that and stuff like that. Yeah.
Let's footnote that because I don't want us to not talk about that. Yeah, but I want you. You have an important thought here.
Yeah, an important thought. Yeah, so. You're trying to normalize the chaos that the team is dishing out. And conversely, you on offense now are trying to implement as much chaos on the other side, moving the ball around, changing shots up. So it's very important that we see those angles so that we have everything available for us. If you push that ball too far out or you make... Sometimes a good set is a bad set, right? because you're trying to put that ball on, but the guy passed it from the end line, right? Again, trying to create the right shot so that you have the ability to create as much chaos for them as possible. And I look at all these east-west passes that go on the beach like we see every day at all levels.
Yeah.
As soon as I see the
All the way
ball
to
going
highs,
east-west, that's bad. That's you're creating more margin for error when the ball goes east-west, especially on transition balls. Transition balls have to go directly to the net. And you have to move. You have to follow your pass. I'll never forget Randy Stokely at all of his camps, everything on the bat. Pass your hit. That's what he would always yell out. I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of times you would hear him say that. Pass your hit. You pass the ball where you want to hit from. You don't pass your partner. You don't do these east-west passes, right? You pass the ball forward. That normalizes the chaos that they're trying to implement on you. Cuts down those angles. You want those small little triangles so that you have every option available to you. If you're coming in at too steep of an angle, you lose half the court. You lose the ability to hit half the court.
Let me interrupt you because it's relevant. What, as far as like you said, margin for error increasing versus reward, how skewed are those two? Where you're adamant about not running that? Like how far divided are those two? Like, there's a reason why people are running east to west, because they think there's a reward if you master it, if it's productive. So my question to you is, it sounds like a stupid question, but now I trap myself. I gotta ask anyway. Is the reward worth it? I think to you it's not.
There are times in the game when you absolutely need to make a spectacular play on a transition ball, where you actually get a good dig or something like that. But the players are a little run out already. The ball's gone over the net a couple of times, right? You need every option available to you. You don't want to pin yourself into one side of the court where it makes it obvious, right? Where the blocker has to do very little.
And it's already set up.
It's already set up. So the north-south pass on a transition ball is what I teach, because we want to keep that the point of your approach. You don't want your guys coming in and breaking their line on their approach, right?
Yeah, on their string.
Yes. A side-out ball is completely different game than transition. That's my point. Yeah. So on transition games, I always teach, let's just keep the ball in front of us at all time. Easiest ball to set is an up and down set. Easiest ball to hit is an up and down set.
Yeah. And for the people listening, for the people who are trying to find ways to keep what we call court vision, meaning what you can see after first contact, that's the key. North-south and south-north is the key.
Absolutely.
That's the key. As soon as you pass, you just look across the net, and as soon as you look back at the ball, as you continue to do that, your peripherals, you start seeing, for the people who are still trying to master this, you start seeing the block, and then you start seeing activity behind the block. And for the guys who've been playing this for a long time, they're distracted because there's a court, but there's a court next to them, and they can see that. And I'm like, all right, let's just refix on that. So I 100% co-sign on you. And it's so important that we say it on this podcast.
And perhaps even more important than that, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people, you want to watch that ball come in. You want to see the ends of your hands. You want to see the end of your platform, your objective, and the other team all in one line.
Yep.
And number one, that's number one to me, but perhaps equally as important is they see you doing it.
Yeah.
Because now they don't have you pinned in.
No, they have to
make their adjustments too.
Yeah.
And they said, oh my God, there comes a freaking awesome set. That's an awesome pass. That guy has got options on this, right? As opposed to, hey, look, that guy is struggling, drop. Everybody drop 10. That old adage, right? Remember?
Yeah.
Play deep, but think short, right?
Yeah.
They drop. Okay, we know the shot's coming. That guy's got offline. He's going to have a hard time getting that cut shot. We know it's not going to the cut. We know it's not angle. He's pinned into the line shot or the line dink. Everybody can move over. It's all statistics, right? making those quick decisions, instantaneously quick decisions. That's what wins. That's what wins games. That's what wins tournaments.
I also would suggest that any coach that kind of gets that are doing a better job than coaches that have more beach experience. The coaches that kind of get that, because those things are consistent with and I don't want to sound cold. Bottom line, are you either you're winning these games or you're not. Why you're not winning at some point is philosophical. All right, and to sound even colder, there comes a time where the world stops rewarding you for your potential or your ability to do some things. And I've had this conversation with some of our people, Miranda, and I'm only speaking for myself. I've only been coaching beach for about 5 years. My extent of knowledge in the beach is Central Park courts, where the beach guys playing in Long Beach on like Point Pleasant would use me to train, because I was an elite indoor player, and I'm a 6'1" guy with like a 6'8" wingspan that was a very sneaky blocker. So you had to wait. You had to play.
Deceptive.
Yeah, you had to know when to play your trigger first or when to play the waiting game and this and that. So that was my extent, and I'm eternally grateful for those beach guys for allowing me to do that, because I came back indoor, just like, because you as an indoor player, you know how to work the gym floor muscles, because that's the advantage you're always going to have over a beach player who comes in with the same leg strength but not the technique. So that was my extent. I came here. I went in the summer, and I know how to run drills. And there's a ton of things I'm missing that I learned from Oz Borges. My savior, the strip dude too. You know him, right?
I know Oz, yeah.
Met you a couple of times just practicing with Torin race. You came up, said hi, and I'm like, I like this guy right away, man. Does he sing karaoke?
We're going to get into that too.
Yeah, all right, good. And then John Mayer, who I met in Mexico. My girl was there for some tournaments for SOB, south of the border. I was there indoor versus the pros, like exhibition stuff. So got to play a couple of sets with him, got to play a couple of sets against him. He took a liking to me. He's like, come on board LMU. So, and the good thing is the tools I had as far as knowing how to win and my reputation on the ability to do more with less remained intact. But I knew there was a large part of this where I'm missing, and I'm speaking about beach volleyball, and there are players that are just like, they're shaking their head, but they're like, this guy's a fucking rookie. He doesn't know what he's saying. And the reason why I was so eager to make sure I mastered it is because I've never been so sure about some things and been so wrong. All right, so this 5 years has been. And I'm going off on this, whatever, but I'll bring it back. This 5 years has been quite the adventure, where I come full circle, where I've leveled up and still know, just like theater performance, it's a lifelong learning experience. I'm going to be 82 years old one day in a few decades and still say I'm still, just like Lauren Bacall, theater or acting, still learning. Still learning. You say you call yourself a master, but that's not up to us to decide. That's to the people who surround us. They call us. They're the ones that call you the master or me masters. We don't do that, and I had to eat some humble pie because of that. And the reason why I'm bringing all this up, and this is full circle, is because at the end of the day, what you're showing them and this technique and this and that, the net result is: are they winning, or are they not?
Are they winning or are they learning, like you said before? Yeah. There's an old adage. I want to just go back to a little thing that you just said. Coming from a very high-level technology field. I mean, I worked for Northrop for 31 years.
For what?
For Northrop for 31, and I was a technical director there the last 8. Jeez. And just never more baffled every time you think you know everything. There's this new technology and this new thing, and you don't. So my thing to my guys was, the more we learn, the less we know. Be hungry.
Yep.
Be hungry to learn new things.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that I learned from being around guys like Marcio,
Sicoli,
and Pompilio, and working with the different pros. Every time Troy and Eric would have like a scrimmage with, some of the other top teams and stuff like that, Taylor, Crab, and Jake Gibb, Trevor and Try, those types of, you learn things. You have to walk away with something every time. You have to be not that sense of arrogance like you know everything. You have to be able to say, okay, you have to see the mountain to conquer the mountain. And to sit down in your little corner of the world and just do drills day after day. Yeah, you're learning to play the game, but you still, Jason, you still have to learn how to win.
Yeah.
You still have to learn what your body, what your mind, what your soul is doing under pressure.
Yep.
And when your partner gets into a funk, how do you deal with that pressure? When your partner is playing great, what do I have to do to keep him playing great? So what I look for in a winning team, two things. I look for fast feet. Love fast feet. When any time any of your players starting to struggle with their setting or their passing or something like that, and they come to me and they're like, Gene, what's happening? It's like your feet.
And 9 out of 10 times
it's your feet.
Yeah.
It's your feet. That's
Okay.
number one. Number two, leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership to me is everything. Give me somebody that understands leadership. What is leadership? Leadership is a commitment to yourself and others to conduct yourself to the highest standards of team excellence, professionalism, and integrity to the best of your ability. That's it. You've got to really want to be out there. You've got to hear what's going on. You've got to see what's going on, right? There are no blind volleyball players. There are deaf volleyball players. There are volleyball players that are short. But there are no blind volleyball players. Volleyball is a very, very visual sport. What you do with that data that you see and how you process it is going to dictate how well you can compete at the upper level.
And for the people listening, this was a tool that, thank God, I came in the beach already having. Because at the end, right indoor, you got to win too, right? You got to win games too. And what you're saying right now, and I'm veering away from making it about myself because I'm a fucking idiot sometimes. What you're saying applies. Let's say you take volleyball out of the equation. Let's say someone comes into this conversation and thinks we're talking about football. Same thing applies, right? Let's say someone comes in and is like, these guys look like they're mixed martial arts coaches. It's not volleyball coaches. They must be talking about MMA. What you just said is universally sports applicable.
For everything, even business, relationships, everything, leadership, that appreciation that you have. Again, leadership, that's one aspect of leadership. The other is, hey, look, do what Phil Jackson did, right? Phil Jackson had great leadership on his teams, right?
Yeah, he did.
Find, implement, and grow talent and productivity.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all he needed to do. When his guys got into trouble, he didn't panic and substitute a bunch of guys in. Hey, I'm sticking with my guys because I'm confident they know what to do. They understand leadership. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, you're willing to bet your job on it.
If you don't have that, that's the coach's nightmare. When these guys go out and they lose their confidence and they start inventing stuff on the court, I was like, what are you doing? That's not to the game plan. He's like, and they're trying to get it all back in one point. That's when I start to worry. Can't work with that.
Right. When do coaches, and I guess we'll go back to our wheelhouse. When do coaches, at what point do they have their players in a game and decide to give up control and see where it goes? The biggest fear for coaches, and again, I'm in the New York City system, so it's basketball heavy, it's this and that. The biggest fear for coaches is
stickball.
Everybody, stickball. Oh my God, come on, man. Here, look up. You want to YouTube stickball, please?
The back of the A&P parking lot on Saturday night when it closed, right? That was the stickball, playground. That was it.
So one of the biggest fears as a system coach, be it, let's say NCAA, let's say high school, varsity, the biggest fear is that everybody thinks you should coach a certain way. You go to the Cap 1s, you go to this, you go to the seminars, you go to the coaches' clinics, and everyone says this is the right way to do it, and they want you to do it that way. So our fear, and I'll put you in this category, maybe not now, but at some point in your volleyball life, your fear is if it doesn't work, they're not the ones that have to fall on that sword. they're not. They're the ones that they'll be those same people will be like, well, I'm not coaching that team. That was him. You know what I'm saying? So something I learned that helped me, but is at the same time hurting me a little bit. I'm a control freak. I don't. If I'm the one, because in sports, if you win, it's the players. If you lose, it's the coaches. You know, from the outside looking in. Or I'm not talking about the gladiators. I'm talking about the spectators and the pundits, which we all are at some point. So my biggest strength, and I'm using myself as an example because it's a point I'm trying to make, was that I would not be responsible for something that I don't call the shots on. You know, but also my question, and this leads to my question: at what point do I say, hey, there's something I'm not 100% sure of. Let's work this in practice. Let's see if it works in a game. At what point do you allow them to become not these vessels, but like captains of their own ship?
When I feel that they're confident enough to do so.
Okay.
Confidence is everything. I mean, you cannot... Okay, so I grew up playing hockey, and I was in the hockey team in college, and... You know, you cannot learn to play hockey by skating around in circles, going to every open skating session and skate in circles. You learn how to play the game by getting into situations that you're just unfamiliar with. That chaos again, that whole chaos aspect, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe what my body just did type of thing. I can't believe that I just made that shot. I can't believe that I just did this. I can't believe that I turned that quick and still maintain control, right? These are the things that you have to learn, and you have to feast on that. You have to want to learn what your body can do instead of painting yourself into a corner and getting good at your bad habits. You have to listen to your coaches. Because your coaches, if they're good coaches, the hardest thing for me is breaking people of their bad habits. Because as soon as they get tired, as soon as they get less confident, you see them rolling back into those bad habits, east-west passes, this, that, you know, type of thing, right? Again, it's when I'm confident that they're confident in themselves, that's when it's their game.
Right.
That's when I turn control over to their game.
Miranda, let's that stickball thing. we got it. Let's just get everybody to appreciate that. And I actually had a question for Miranda because she's been in and out of the game because of COVID and everything like that. But she can definitely have a conversation about habits that she's trying to unlearn and this and that. So let's just pick one. Let's just pick one. Yeah, I want people to see that.
No, we don't need
that's all right. Let's let the countdown.
Jake from State
Like a good neighbor. Get out of here with that good neighbor. Hispanic Heritage Month, huh?
I've never seen this.
Stickball, yeah, it's a big Bronx tradition. Before I moved to Flatbush, I grew up in Coney Island, and next to the handball courts, there'd be some stickball.
Yeah, I'm a Flushing guy.
The
inner city and Flushing. Yeah, right off Queens Boulevard there, right?
Check it out. So the stick, there's actually like 100-mile-an-hour tape or electrical tape on the stick. Sometimes it's just a pure stick.
Yeah. We used to use an old broomstick.
They do like a little tap.
Now they
tap,
actually
10 seconds.
have, stickball sticks.
Yes. Which is crazy.
Stickball was born.
It was the best way to go out. You could play one-on-one. That was the best. You just drew the lines up.
Yep.
The version being played in the San Diego tournament is from Brooklyn. Louis Santoni says there are no pitchers.
So you bounce to yourself, you pitch to yourself.
The road is
And then other than that,
the road is the field?
Yes. The street. Yes.
Yeah.
You just had to stop when cars passed by. Most of the time it was not in the It was in an unoccupied, predominantly 2-lane street that a lot of traffic doesn't go through. It's on side streets. Like, I'm from Brooklyn. I lived on a cul-de-sac, Chester Court. So Chester Court was a dead end street. So we had no traffic. Only people that are like, okay, this is a dead end. I got to turn around, and go back out, and you got to wait for those people, or it's like the neighborhood guys looking for a parking spot. So yeah, stickball. The rubber ball, yeah.
Back when we were young, when I was a kid, the blue laws were more in effect. And, now everything's open 24/7. It's crazy. But usually on a Saturday night, the supermarkets would close early and those parking lots would empty out, And anybody that left their car, that was a base, You didn't want to leave your car in the A&P parking lot on a Saturday night because you'd have a couple of welts on that car. You
did. You'd have dents from this rubber ball, which seems kind of harmless, but when you hit it with a stick hard enough, yeah. God, on our block we would play stickball. We play football during the football season because the block is basically a field. It's like a 40-yard field. So sometimes we go. Like, our sideline passes are basically crashing in the car. So there was one time I threw a pass, and the guy caught it, and when he caught it, his 2 steps, he just ran into the car mirror, and the car mirror just flew off, hanging on by a wire, and we all look at each other, and we're just like...
New York in the early 60s.
We're like, do we just keep playing, and when the guy comes, we don't know what happened, or do we just get the fuck out of here? You almost always broke a window.
Oh, the windows were broken all the time.
Dude,
yeah.
And when the windows broke, it looked like a jailbreak.
Everybody just scattered.
Like roaches when the lights come on or something.
That was New York in the 60s. That was it.
Gene Dolan from Queens. Wow. Queens, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Flushing, Flatbush. That video Miranda showed you was the Bronx. It's so weird to circle back to volleyball.
That's not Brooklyn or Flushing.
Not really. No, it's honestly.
That's like upstate. That's like the first stop to upstate.
Like I never even heard of Park Chester until I started coaching volleyball. I'm like, you live where?
Yeah.
Or we're playing Lehman College or whatever. I'm like, dude. We were supposed to take the bus, the school, the college van or whatever. I said, let's just get some Metro cards, guys. Let's take the train. We took the 6 to the 4, and the 4 train took us to Lehman College in 35 minutes. If we drove at that time, our game was at 6 o'clock in New York City traffic.
Now, you're how old now?
I'm 51.
Yeah, I'm 51, so I'm 61. I'll be 62, so I'm 10 years older. When we were kids, when I was growing up in the 60s, when I was 5, not 5, but I'm going to say like 7 or 8, we used to ask my dad for $2.50.
That's it.
$2.50 would get you subway fare to Yankee Stadium and back, get you in, and a hot dog.
That's it.
It was crazy back then. And there were cheap seats for like $1.25.
Fast forward 4 decades, the D train and the 4 train are still the 2 fastest ways to the stadium. You're not gonna drive there, okay? Look, where I grew up in Brooklyn, Flatbush Avenue, Lou Gehrig, for a year and a half lived in the house I grew up in. The house I lived in was probably like 125 years old. It's now considered a landmark. Look it up, people. I'm not telling you where I lived. But to my understanding, for a year, this guy used to commute from Brooklyn to the Bronx via police escort because his immigrant family, was like, we're not going to live on Park Avenue. Why do we need to live there when we can just live here and we save all this money? And then
more practical.
And then eventually the Yankees organization is just like, you got to move. We'll find you a place. So, but in their mind, they're like, we're not doing all this wasteful spending just to live, to live with all of these rich people. So, but it's an interesting story because driving there, even with the police escort, the Yankees organization and the manager and his teammates are sweating bullets. He's not going to make this game. And he's never been late for anything in his life. Yeah. And he's never, and even though he's never missed a game or been late for a game, I think he's the one with the consecutive games played. That was broken by Cal Ripken, I think. he's never been later and missed the game. But even though he's never been later and missed the game, they still sweat. They're like, in this traffic, there's no freaking way this guy's gonna make it. And finally, a year in, just to relieve themselves of that stress and just say, hey, take your parents with you. Live on Park Avenue. Park Avenue, basically close to the 90s. Actually, Park Avenue takes you straight to Yankee Stadium too. You cross that bridge or whatever. So what you were saying, the cool thing is, you take the train, you're there really quick. It's gotten a little bit more expensive, as we know, but the trip is still the same. It's great.
We didn't need any parental guidance or anything. I mean, we were just a bumbling mass of kids just hopping on the subway and getting off. The scariest part was that prison across the street as you come out of the subway.
Yes.
And, you'd show up at the stadium with your mitt, and there's all these kids. Hey, kid, I'll give you $1 for your mitt. They're just hanging out of their cells. All these convicts hanging out of their cells.
Give me the mitt first. Give me the mitt first.
He's going to give me $1 for this. He's going to give me $1 for this crappy mitt,
You're like, I ain't getting nothing.
That was the scariest part, is going by the prison when you were 6 years old. You'd see these scary dudes,
So where my camera's like square spacing on you. Go back to the camera. It's like trying to phase zoom you. It's following you around. Because I'm all about that bass.
That's random.
So such a fun conversation. I don't know who wants to talk about volleyball right now.
You haven't even gotten to the karaoke part yet.
No,
but we're saving that for later.
No, karaoke's awesome. Let's definitely footnote that.
Yeah.
But I had one volleyball question before I forgot about it, because I'm supposed to write these things down for a podcast, but we're just
funner.
Yeah, we're just talking shit. As far as habits, teaching adults to unlearn habits which don't work for them versus habits that they learn that are not our traditional coaching style,
right,
that work for them, where you just make an arbitrary decision to leave the fuck alone. Can you give me some examples where you draw that line of distinction?
Like I said, east-west passing.
Right.
That to me, well, passing is everything.
Right.
Passing is 90% of the game. The other 10%, let's call it 85% of the game. The other 15% is serving.
Yeah, that's a control.
I mean, any idiot can go out there and learn how to hit. Any idiot can go out and learn how to do a lot of... I should take that back, not idiots, but those are the easiest things to learn how to do. But passing, that's the start of everything. Bad passing habits are going... I can look at somebody's ability to overcome their bad habits on passing, and I can tell how far they're limited to going to.
Right. I always say that divides open from AA and AAA.
Yeah.
Like, for my indoor guys, and I talked to a close friend of mine, or not a close friend, but a longtime friend of mine, Mike Zalek, for indoor. He's we were like, what's the difference between AA and open? He's like, the middles. So for indoor, it's the middles. Because you can always find a rock star outside and this and that.
Right.
In fact, Taylor Crabb and Taylor Sander actually sandbagged in one AA because they didn't have middles. They played for Hustle and Flow. I remember 2013. I'm like, the hell are you two doing? You know what I'm saying? Olympians and all that stuff. So, but for outdoor, the difference between AA and these guys worried about their rating and all that shit, and open, and lower level open players to upper level open players, different levels of open too, right?
Right.
Is a serve. I always said was a serve, but I'm having a change of philosophy so people can understand that better. It's about first hit, because at the end of the day, everyone's you're going to find even AA guys who got a really nasty serve, especially some of them are even better in the wind. But I think the guys who play mid-level or upper level open are the ones that control the serves and make it seem like a normal day. So,
right.
So for years and years and years, I've always told people that the difference is a serve because it's easy for them to compartmentalize. But since we're in this acute discussion about that, it's important. We'd be remiss that serving and passing are not, these things are not mutually exclusive. They're kissing cousins. Right? They're not strange bedfellows. They're kissing cousins.
As far as physical ability and height and quickness and everything like that, those are all fairly tangible. I always use the analogy when I'm talking to my higher level players. The difference between, I always kind of revert back to the men's downhill. in the Winter Olympics, which is one of the most exciting events to watch. Period.
It's-
That is, if
it's
not the greatest event to watch for me.
It's controlled chaos.
Right. So the difference between first place and 15th place can be less than a second. I mean, so that's kind of what you're looking at. Now, Jason, when years ago when they switched over to the new rules, the shorter court and everything like that, kind of squeezed out the smaller, the more vertically challenged population, it became a big man's game pretty much, right?
Yeah.
We look at that and we're trying to formulate how the game has changed and how it affects people and how it affected the game. And when you go to these tournaments, you'd see complete blowouts. Either the guys were familiar with that format or they weren't. Now, you go to the AVP, you go to a Manhattan Open or a Chicago Open, you look at how many matches go to the third set, and it's like 17-15 or 15-13. So what are we really trying to do here? What are we focusing on? On our game, we're trying to let's just find 2 points. We need to find 2 points at critical times in this match. That's the difference between the upper level echelon open players and the lower level echelon open players or qualifier players, is finding just those 2 or 3 critical points in a match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, championships. I tell my kids and my adults, championships are not won by blowouts. They're won by 2 points.
That's right.
They're won
That's
by
right.
2 points.
Right.
We were talking about game threes. The first thing that popped in my mind.
How many of them?
The first thing that popped in my mind wasn't even a game three. It was, if you remember, Kristen Nuss and Taryn Cloth against April and Alex. That was
in that first
40
one.
to 38. 40 to 38.
In that first one that they played in.
Yeah, and then the previous tournament in Manhattan Beach, same thing with Sponsel and Clays. I think that was 38-36 or 39-37. So they ended up breaking their own record one tournament later. Boy, talk about two girls that ain't ready to give up the goods, huh? Wow, talk about two girls that I've been following for a long time that a lot of people just, they feel new to the scene only because certain people only follow the tour. You know what I'm saying? Like you and I, we knew who Kristen Nuss and Taryn Cloth were. I knew them in between seasons in LSU, but when COVID happened, I started watching them. Yeah, because I was also involved in NCAA college, or College Beach. But sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh
no. Yeah, I think it's amazing. Like you said, people figure out things where it even gets to a 13-13, and you're right. That is what divides people. You know, like I was thinking about Miranda, like her boyfriend Rob McLean. Before we got on
right.
the air,
right.
we were talking about he talk about the hardware is fine, but the software needed some work, and he's in a good place now. But in 2018, he's in Hermosa Beach. I don't know if it was the last round or whatever. He's up 13-11, right, on Boag and Jacobs. You know, you kind of win, you're in, right? And he found a way to lose that, right? And then Manhattan Beach, the last round again, you know what I'm saying? The first game was 22-20. He lost, and the second game was just like, fuck it. And then somewhere in the middle of it, down 20-11, he comes back and makes it 20-18. They changed their mind, you know? And you're right, it's these little victories. And then the next year, he played with Travis Schoonover, and they lost to the Partains 15-13, game 3.
Yeah, I have Travis as one of my guys too now.
15-13, game 3.
Yeah.
And you're right. You look at someone like Miles Partain, who made the semifinals with Paul Lotman, and that's how close Rob is, who hasn't yet to beat in the main draw, to this lefty, this kid, who's made it to the semifinals in a Gold Series. 2 points.
2 points.
2 points.
That's
picture this. Like, look, let's say Miles doesn't play with his brother Marcus. Let's say he has Lotman, but let's say you give Rob Theo Brunner. See what happens. It's going to be decided by 2 again, and maybe Rob wins that, maybe it doesn't. And so sometimes it is about having your good partner, right? I mean, Rob's best partner he's played in the tournament with was Diorora, right? Partains is like, you know, is Avery Drost, who was on the podcast yesterday. Just so I mean, sometimes partners have something to do with it.
It is definitely a composition of synergy. not the best players. Not necessarily putting the best players is going to yield the best results.
Agreed.
There is a synergy. There's a
Because he did qualify with his brother. I mean, in Miles' defense.
In Hermosa, several years back.
15 years old.
Yeah, 15 years old. Yeah, that was amazing. That was really fun to watch. I mean, there again, there's two guys that are just super focused, super fast feet, and, they just knew where they needed to be on the court at all times. And they just fed off of each other.
It was Partains versus Brunsting and Samuels. Sorry.
But the thing that really is getting to my point here is you may train in the off season in your little bubble, okay? And you're saying, hey, look, Gene, I've come up with some new shots. I've gotten this much quicker. I put on more weight. I'm jumping higher and stuff like that. So your level is going up by X, okay? The problem that they face, and it's good, is that the overall floor of the AVP and the FIVB is going up by 2 or 3x. So as good as you think you've gotten in the off season, you can't keep pace with the rest of the level. And when I look at what's happening at 16th Street, years ago it used to be, hey, look, and this is just my interpretation of what's going on.
No, what you see with your own two eyes.
What I see with my own two eyes is, before COVID and, even before then, back in the old days, the top teams didn't want to always compete against the other top teams because they wanted to work on their stuff, right? And then it was kind of a crapshoot as to who won. There was a lot of variability. Now, when you look at Long Beach last year in the 3 tournaments that they had there, you had the top 3 or 4 teams, and they're like, hey, look, we're going to practice against each other. We're doing that this year. We want all the money. We want to improve our game. So they started practicing and scrimmaging with each other like every week or two, right? And that's how that level burns itself up to where it is today, right? So if you're not part of that elite group and you're not training and scrimmaging with those guys at 16th Street, you're going to have a hard time. That's my interpretation of what's going on.
Here's my interpretation, and people are not going to like this, but I don't give a damn. The lack of inclusiveness leads to your ultimate destruction. You can have a whole season where you take the best players and you play with each other because iron sharpening iron is a real thing. And that's something we all have to learn to accept. If you play with the best players, you have high quality reps all the time. You're always on your toes and this and that. But after a while, that becomes stale too. And the other thing is you have to be sure that iron sharpening being iron has to be sharp enough and hard enough for when you go to FIVB tournaments and you face competition that you think is the same as yours, you better fucking make sure you're sure, because something that allowing different players, lower level players that you may not think are up to par, gives you a different look, and it manipulates the muscles, it manipulates the mind. Okay, that's slow, that's fast, that's slow, that's fast. But if you're in the same situation where you're matrix, where you're operating, this is the best way I know to describe it, where you're operating at regular speed and everything else is like 3/4 speed, because when I played, that's when I felt like I was in my zone. I felt like everyone was operating at 75% speed, like the camera was slowed down, and I'm at normal speed. But if I'm in a situation too long where I'm used to something, you know what's going to happen? Someone's going to come along, and then a ball's going to zoom by in my matrix, and I'm going to be like, what the fuck was that? So lack of inclusiveness could have been the destruction, and it was the destruction of volleyball. What changed that, especially for the women, it became an NCAA sport. And when it became an NCAA...
Beach.
Yeah. For beach. And when it became an NCAA sport, just using the women, there's no men in NCAA beach. What happened was superior coaches looking for full-time positions were more than glad to accommodate these young ladies who weren't part of that bubble and weren't part of that non-inclusive group. Fine, you can have them. Sooner or later, you're going to run into a Sarah Hughes and Kelly Clays who wound up against Carrie and April. All right, they didn't beat them. No, they didn't beat the best team in the world, but they're in the finals. They beat everybody else who's been getting it in for years and years, who were part of that group. So it's not like, if you can't beat them, you don't know shit. You just beat everyone except them. Fast forward, Kristen Nuss and Taryn Cloth. Everyone's shocked at how they're doing in the tournament. But for the people that have been following them, you know who's not shocked? Fucking Russell Brock, LSU. He's their coach. Everyone in New Orleans, because they've been wearing them NOLA versus all y'all hats since they saw him playing Coconut Beach, and then they saw him win Wapaka, then they saw them win Atlantic City, which was a $100K purse, attracted a lot of good players. They won that, and then Atlanta, from the qualifier to the draw to the finals, didn't even look tired because their minds. Talk about iron sharpening iron. You have to win 5 matches to win a tournament. 5 matches a day to win a tournament. Where like on the tour stops, you only have to win 5 in 3 days. Those girls were not tired. Look at the Brazilians. The Brazilians playing in those small tournaments made it from the qualifier all the way to the finals for Chicago. Lost to April and Alex. And losing to April and Alex is not indicative of their failure. They just beat the shit out of everybody else who thought they were worthy. So those are. We only had 3 stops. I just gave you 2 examples. A huge 66% sample size. And we were set for our destruction, but the NCAA saved women's volleyball. Men's help is on the way. For the people that think it don't look good, I swear to you, because of coaches like you and Jeff Alzina and these guys who everyone's like, I need a coach. I humble myself, because the rest of the world has at least by our eye test looks like they have superior coaching. Do they have superior coaching? Yes, because those people are going to the coaches, or the coaches. There's a federation that makes those people go to the coaches, like Brazil or like Italy or this and that. So our eye test says they have superior coaching, and it's true until it's not. We have some great coaches here. They're just the men are just not fucking coming to them. You know what I'm saying? How long did it take Eric Baranek to be like, hey, LT or this person? How long did it take Troy Field? How many people did people pour through before he finally got to a coach like you? And yes, I'm sounding like I'm being disrespectful to the other people before him, but at the end of the day, are you fucking doing your job or are you not doing your job? Are you putting in the work? Is this person a better player? And do you have something to do with that or not? So that's where I sound like I'm insulting people, but I'm a Bill Parcells guy. You are what your fucking record says you are, and like you said, conjunction, you win or you learn. Right. Your record gets better when you learn. And are they learning? Are the men learning? Yeah, kinda. Are the girls learning? Yes, they have. 2019 before COVID, and I'm gonna finish, and I'll give you the floor. 2019 before COVID, Hermosa Beach, that showed the entire fucking landscape of United States volleyball. You had Kraft and Maple, Deanna Kraft and doesn't matter. One girl's 16, one girl's 17. They made the quarterfinals. Chrissy Jones, Muno, right? Just graduated college. They're in the semifinals. Katie Hogan's in the finals. Betsy Flynn, Emily Day won the whole thing. But the Norris twins. Not even at USC yet, approaching 18 years old. These are just 4 teams and I'm missing some that were in Hermosa Beach, getting it in and catching up and passing a bunch of girls who were not inclusive. Okay, so the girls learned and now they're all in it together. The guys are in trouble. Floor is yours. I just fucking went all.
You have to create the path, and for a lot of the players. That do not have the resources to pay for coaching, because coaches need to eat too, right? You have to create the path. Now, for me, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it because this sport has been so good to me for so long. I want to give back to the community, and my people know that. And there are people that, not going to name names, but they dollar bills are precious to them. So if I need them to help me coach others that are less fortunate or whatever, then that's the way I try to work my stuff. So the path is there, right? And I really think that with Bally's coming on board, not back on board, I really think that the Bally's organization, at least I would like to think, that they are going to create the path to prosperity, not only for coverage and for the love of the sport, but for the players. I would love to see a players' union develop. I would love to see somebody take the reins like a Dan Newman or something like that and kind of come up with an idea and an objective and present it to a Bally's or something like that, to sell content, to market content, to create a players' union for the players so that they can so that the paths can be created to get good coaching, to get resources, to get people to live here, to be able to live here and play this great sport more than just summer months, right?
Yeah.
So we have to, as a community, we have to do our part to create that path. And that's what I gravitate towards, I look at Mark Fishman. I look at what he's doing, what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
I look at what I'm doing. I look at what you're trying to do. We're trying to create awareness in the community so that we can get a path to prosperity here, so that it will make it more competitive, more enjoyable, more marketable.
And at the risk of sounding self-serving, we're doing our part, not searching to do theirs, all right? You go to a tournament, and if coaches and players are not doing their video room work and they're not practicing, and someone's walking by the court and it looks like an interesting game, if they see a feeling out process for the entire first set before these guys even get going, they're moving on. And those are the people who know the sport. Never mind us trying to attract people that don't know the sport. They're like, wow, this looks interesting. Cute girls in bikinis or just guys, wow, that guy just hit the ball 100 miles an hour. It is when the sponsors come, when Bally's come, and when they take care of all the bells and whistles. And I'm going to say this to the camera, you better hope your product is dope. You better be ready when that time comes, because Bally's would just be a big fucking waste of time. Bally's right now is a good thing because their machine is strong. They can, if they wanted to, they can pump out. If the main draws wants to have 5 courts or whatever because it's a big one, they have the live streaming function and the tech know-how and the wherewithal to pump out all 5 courts where we can choose those courts.
All that awareness,
yes.
All that marketable content.
Yes, that's Daniel Newman, the guy we love to hate. Damn, that boy's got some ideas, huh?
And Mark Fishman, and there's several others those guys are the visionaries. Those guys can make it happen. Once we get the awareness, look at what the Olympics did for beach volleyball.
Yeah.
It's terrific, right? There's a lot of whispers about what Bally's could do, whether or not they're going to create a facility in Atlantic City where they're going to, it's going to be a permanent volleyball facility, a beach facility in Atlantic City. There's all kinds of rumors, but I think that they're very proactive in awareness and prosperity for all. I would like to think that the players will have the capability and will have the path to greatness, to that awareness and prosperity. We talked about the young girls now, the girls coming up. Well, what about the next group of girls that are coming up? They're even stronger, I think. I look at Savannah Standage, right? Sterling's daughter. I look at Erin Inskeep, I look at those people. Where are they going to be in 3 to 5 years? They're babies in the sport, and they're going out and competing and doing really well in women's opens right now at 16 years old and 17 years old.
And as club coaches, we see it. I was with Endless Summer for 5 years, and I got 3 of our girls going into USC this fall. I got 2 at Long Beach, 1 there now, 1 on the way. Freshmen. And like you said, playing in these CBVA tournaments, this one's got her triple, and I'm like, she's 15 years old. You got one girl, Eden McCoy, who's balancing General Hospital. She's on the soaps, and she's at SC. She probably won't play for Dane because Dane's got some depth. But if she does, she's good. She's good for the sport. Because she's a soap star that's also playing beach volleyball. So,
But when you look at the top players of our era, okay, and how they had to learn those mistakes on the beach at a late age, and now you've got these kids that are already going through those hard knocks and everything like that. They're already honing their iron on iron, right?
Yeah.
At 15 and 16 years old, and they've learned how to win.
Yeah.
And they've learned how to play under pressure.
There's a historical pattern.
Give them that opportunity. Bally's has to reach out and give them that opportunity.
Yeah. Bally's also has to see a historical sports pattern, right? You're talking about these volleyball players at 15. This one's 14. Wow, this one's this and that. If you look at other sports, and only citing the big 3, so our audience can get a grasp or an understanding, because it's not just a volleyball podcast anymore. You look at basketball. You look at a kid who's reaching like 10-8, 12 years old. They're looking at kids that young. You know, I mean, you got 8 high schools in New York that are like probably like 11% of the NBA's talent.
Kind of like baseball is here in California
like
and volleyball.
Holy Cross, or Christ
Right.
the King, the 2 private schools.
Right.
Abraham Lincoln, Brooklyn. You know, Stephon Marbury went there. Cardozo, even Cardozo has like a 1-2A. Team that's just magnificent. But if Bally sees a pattern that is consistent with historical patterns of other sports, like football with Pop Warner and all that stuff, basketball with this and that, if volleyball does that, then there's more money in it. There's more money in it. You watch the coaches who are really, really good get these opportunities. You watch the coaches who need to cowboy up, the coaches who've been playing glorified babysitter the last 5 years. You watch them say, you know what, I got to start going to seminars. I have coaches meetings, and I need to get better. Otherwise, I'm not going to last long because I'm going to be exposed for what I am. You know, because there's a lot of bums out there. I said it, bums. You know, at the club level, at the adult level, that are just. You know, a lot of them use their reputation. They recruit the best players. The best players play each other in the finals. And like you said, in the bubble, perception-wise, they're the best of the best. But in the world, they're the smartest retards in special ed, you know? Shit. With apologies to special ed people, what am I saying? I'm going to get canceled. Sorry, I didn't mean nothing by that. But Morenz like, shut up.
So this summer, I got to work with a couple of the guys from the Costa Rica Nationals. They were here touring, and a couple of young kids. And
they look good, huh?
They were really good.
Oh my God.
Really, really good. Young, really good players. And we talked, and you know, bringing volleyball to, bringing good coaching, doing coaches camps, even abroad. You know, one of my guys right now, Lucas Nascimento is he's down in Colombia right now doing a coaches camp.
Is he related to Doug?
I don't know.
Dougie Fresh? Okay, because that's the same last name, but go ahead.
Yeah, so anyways, he's down in Colombia doing a coaches camp, right?
Nice.
And I know that I talked to the Costa Rican guys about doing a coaches camp. And Jesse Webster, who's now in like Ohio or something like that, he was visiting this summer, and he was like, Gene, got to get you out for a coaches camp in Ohio, because he's trying to do what he did for Hermosa in Ohio, you know, with his club teams and stuff like that, and his beach teams and stuff, you know. So It's about creating the path, right?
100%.
The resources have to be there. The will has to be there.
And the product.
And the product. It has to be something that the community can look at and say, hey, look, this is a community-based thing. It's marketable. I'll never forget the day after in Alex and April, when they won the Olympics, I did a spot on TV for them and for a news channel the day after they won the gold. And I was like, you know what? This is more than just an Alex and April story. This is a community story. This is a community of Southern California. This is a community of Hermosa Beach. I'm zeroing in to 16th Street. It's the people that they compete with every day, you know, the people that they scrimmage that allows them to develop that path to greatness, right?
Yeah.
So it's not about them just practicing and doing everything in a bubble. And Angie really liked that, you know. She was like, yeah, Gene, that kind of hits home a lot, you know. The community aspect, that we develop that path to greatness, right? Give us that opportunity. So if I'm Bally's, I'm like, hey, look, we've got plenty of potential here in this country. You want to take over the AVP? Give us that opportunity. Give us that opportunity to display our greatness and our potential, you know.
And in a trade-off, the people that are asking for that opportunity to display its greatness has to be inclusive.
Yes.
Has to be inclusive. I mean, 16th Street, yeah, that's where they practice, but there's this kind of this attitude where everyone's supposed to kiss their ass to get with them, and that's just half perception, because that's not wholeheartedly true. There's April and Alex, just had a general conversation with them. I like them. We're not fishing buddies, and I don't know them as well as Angie and you and them do, but I like them. You know what I'm saying? They don't seem not inclusive. You know what I'm saying? I never asked them to be on the podcast or anything, but there is a perception of lack of inclusiveness that makes other people that are on that level as elite athletes, as far as the coaching and this and that make them just say, fuck that, I don't want nothing to do with that, right? And on the West Coast, when you see good teams, indoor and outdoor, it's the players. In the Midwest, when you see good teams, it's the coaches. You look at Ohio State, three-time NCAA champ the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And the MIVA, right? And in fact, 5 of the last 10 championships are MIVA. Loyola Chicago twice, Ohio State 3 times, beating Division II Lewis, no less. So, and this is my personal experience. I grew up in New York. I've only been here for 5 years. I'll tell you a story. AVP came to Hermosa, New York, 2019. I was Jeff Samuel's coach, and I was Rafu's analytics coach. So
that was in the city, wasn't it?
That was down in, yeah, that was. And they still had the qualifiers at Pier 25, but they built a new location where Chelsea is. That you could just cross the street. People could see it from their apartments.
Yeah,
it was innovative and it was brilliant. So what I did was, because I saw the idea. And I didn't want it to fall on its face like, if I'm not using this as an extreme example, FIVB Las Vegas. You had this first class set up and only like 2 people there, right? Except the last day. So I reached out to every volleyball organization and let them know the AVP was in town and where and what days and this and that. And
that was for that New York tournament.
Yeah, for the New York thing. Yeah, so the 3 biggest leagues, and bear with me on this, the 3 biggest leagues are New York Urban Professionals. They have 254 teams. And 54 of them are men's and women's, so 200 co-ed teams. And they're big on beach, indoor, all-purpose, like New York is grass, beach, a little everything. Big City Volleyball, which is the second biggest league, and one is called Long Island Volleyball. Long Island Volleyball is a mixture of indoor and summertime. It's exclusively the beach and grass, and all the Long Island areas, and then the beach and Long Beach and this and that. So reach out to Long Island. Oh, cool. Hey, I'm interested. Let me know. Send me the dates and times. I'll bring some people. I'll come through, whatever. I want to meet Jeff or Jeff Conover, like the president, the guy who founded that. I can't believe I'm naming names. New York Urban's is Paula and John, and Paula and John's like, well, I'm away for the weekend, but if you want, I could put it like on a page, like on our news page or whatever, saying AVP's in town. We're busy, not our thing. And then you got Big City. Big City was like, basically, I don't mean to curse, but like, fuck those guys. They came here, they did a couple of clinics, and they were so full of themselves, and they were just like mocking, like how certain people were doing it the wrong way, just demonstrating the wrong way, and just speaking from a place up here. So those are 3 different leagues, the 3 biggest leagues that you get 3 different reactions from. And it's because some people can see that they're not being non-inclusive. And then you got some people that run into a couple of people, and it's like, fuck those guys. I'm in, I have the biggest league in the United States of America. I'm making more, these guys are winning tournaments and living in their parents' garage. I have a co-ed league that offers $2,000 for first place. Just winning a semis and finals, where you got guys that play 4 qualifier matches, don't get shit. So it wasn't like a penis measuring contest between people who run organizations. It's just about everybody telling each other we're on the same fucking side. Indoor, outdoor, volleyball. Chi DiMaggio introduced me to that, and have everybody understand the same thing. And if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But we need to stop either offering the illusion of being non-inclusive, or actually saying you are non-inclusive here and there, and grow the fuck up. And that's where I think volleyball could take a turn for the better. I got a big fucking project next year. I'm not allowed to talk about it a little bit, but it involves iHeart. iHeart, the app, is going to do a project, iHeart Volleyball. So next summer, it involves 21 live streams from 21 different countries on all phases of volleyball. So maybe 4s here, maybe Central Park, beach volleyball, maybe like Uptown Riverbank State Park. The Dominicans play 4s there twice a week. That's free volleyball, 7 to 11. I could get Eric Baranek and Avery Jones to play Gehrig and Satterfield. That would be like our beach match. Seydou Ajanako from Ghana, West Africa, he's down. Sharif from Qatar, him and Ahmed are down. And That's as much as I can say, but all I know is, if you remember that Republican lady talking about releasing the Kraken and all that shit, this Kraken's for real. This dragon's gonna be big. So we'll talk off camera about that, because I'm supposed to create my own team, and just off the top of my head, I know so many people, including you, that will be like, let me know where and when I'm down. Let me know what it is, where and when. So, yeah, but that's my opinion on that, and that hurts a lot of people's feelings. Like, what do you mean we're not inclusive? I remember Madison McKibben was like, you should state some facts before you say something like that, and I'm just like, are you kidding? This is a written post. I get to write my facts down and cite sources. So, and Madison and I were cool. He wasn't like mad at me. We're not enemies, but it's something that he disagrees.
Yeah. And
it's, you're gonna disagree. You're in the fucking bubble. Of course you're inclusive, because in your mind you're nice to this guy. You go to this party. You go. So yeah, in your mind, of course you are. Yeah, but no, I'm a kid from Brooklyn. And I know. My eye test, based on our experience, which by the way is a century of volleyball. Between you and me, we're 51 years old. We're almost coaching experience. I'm 26 years in as a coach. You're probably 28, whatever. That's a half a century of experience and a century of like almost total volleyball, because we came out the womb. So, that's a lot of years. So, that's important that if people are worried about the validity of our opinion, like, people that get into this whole gladiators of the arena who know nor victory or defeat, stop. You've been doing this longer than a lot of those guys live. And even if you disagree with me, we're here having this conversation. So, that's a mouthful. Sorry. Goddamn, minute 20. I think I just did 20 from that hour to that hour 20.
I'm a really analytical guy.
Okay.
And I know I pick stuff apart. So my background was at Northrop for the last 8 years that I was there. I was the company SME for failure analysis.
Shit.
So anytime I had a space product line.
Put this mic down. You take it from here.
I had a space product line, and anytime there was an on-orbit artifact or failure, or they had a SIL problem or something like that, a system integration, where they're putting satellites together and stuff like that, my team was called. I would get that phone call from my VP in Baltimore of Northrop, and Gene put together a team and dive on this thing and figure out what happened, So I would always ask two questions. My first question is how big of an opportunity is this? How important is it, right? And the second question I would always ask is, how far ahead of it do I have to get? Does that make sense? How far ahead of this problem do I have to be so I'm looking back at this problem, not fixing this problem only to find that there's a new problem, right? I need to get, how far ahead do I have to be? I started coaching only several years ago, not 20 years ago. I don't have that much experience, but I do have a very, very analytical mind. And I do see things that others don't see because I have a mathematical mind, and I look at the focus of a player like I look at the focal equation of a Fresnel lens, right? I mean, like a lighthouse has like a fourth order Fresnel lens that they used to shine that little candlelight 100 years ago so that boats could see it, 20 miles off, right? A car headlight, that's a Fresnel lens. That's like a sixth or a seventh order Fresnel lens. What kind of focus do we need as a player to see the game? What type of focus does Chris Tayler need to see to lift his team to be able to hit 3 home runs and to just put the lights out on the Atlanta Braves last night? Those are the types of things that we look for. We look for ability to focus. And I'm telling you, some of these kids that are coming up now that are going to be in that spotlight 4 and 5 years from now, Jason, and we're going to be looking back and we're going to be looking at each other and say, yeah, I remember when we had that conversation. These kids are elite players, and they're going through these things, and they're focusing that lens to perfection. And by the time they really hit, and these LSU gals that are playing now, I mean, these are the types of things that is going to make this sport that much better and that much more exciting and on par with NBA talent. I mean, when you look at the athleticism in the NBA and what those guys do, even college, right, and football, you ever go to and most people see football games, you know, on TV, or they go down and they, you know, the best seats that they get are 40th row up or something like that. When you're actually down on the field, looking at the size of these guys and how fast they're moving and what they're doing with their bodies, it's unfrickin' believable. I'm telling you, that's where this sport could go if we create the paths. If we create the paths as coaches, as we create the paths as financiers, right? As we create the paths to the technology, to bring that down to the game. When we were kids watching a football game, I mean, the camera angles, I mean, it was like maybe 3 cameras in the stadium, right? Now you get to see every little thing. There's 5 cameras on every single player out there, and slow-mo, and they've got the coverage, the media has done such a great job in finding the ins and outs and the real game, right? Not this view from above type of thing. That's what Bally's needs to do. That's what we as a community need to do.
Yeah.
That's what your podcasts need to do.
Yep.
Is really bring into focus what's happening inside the game, right? That's why I'm glad to be here today.
I'm glad you're here today too, and I think as far as important elements, just naming names before we go to move on to karaoke. Naming names of people I think are instrumental as far as just on the product alone. There's you. I like John Mayer. John Mayer is a winner learn guy. John Mayer should have been coach of the year. Won 31 games at LMU. Dane Blanton, who really should be the 6 degrees of separation from everyone, because the man's ability to communicate with people here at eye level, like you're a couple of fellas just having a drink and chilling, or if you're in a church service, Dane can stand next to you. If you're in church reading a Bible, Dane's next to you. If you're at a game, Dane could be next to you. Dane could be sitting next to you in every single situation, no matter what social structure, no matter how much money you make, no matter what class structure. Dane should be the 6 degrees of separation. And there's something to be said about, like, if you don't win the whole thing, that's fail. That's pressure too, which he came through. Who else do I like? Holly McPeak. Holly McPeak, who, like you, is more often than not paid to coach, but not paid to care. The caring comes free of charge. I seen that girl do like a camp in New York or whatever, and when the cameras left, when NBC left, and the girls wanted to stay and play around with her, she didn't leave with the camera crew. She stayed. She was all about those kids. And the reason why I mention these people, because they're not just coaches, they're color commentators. Not John, of course, but Dane's a great color commentator. He can take you on that journey. Holly McPeak can take you on that journey. Chris Marlowe, to the day he dies, can take you on that journey. Like he's even when he makes mistakes, we don't care because he's so adorable, you know. So these are the guys who I think would be instrumental as far as like Bally's, like who's gonna. Because you need someone to tell that story. I'm on the podcast. We're telling this story, right? Me, as far as color commentary and play-by-play, in my heart of hearts, I don't think there's anyone better than me, because that's just my inner confidence that comes out. And even when I have a bad day, Atlantic City was not particularly great, but it was still better than the other one. So I guess what you're saying, I was talking about the product, which is the women are on their way. The guys, I swear, help's on the way, because what's happening beyond Miles Partain or whatever, people are going to be happy. Evan Corey, another Louisiana product, good kid.
I've worked with him too.
Logan Weber
worked with him too.
Yeah. They were great. It was rock star. what was it, Coconut Beach? Coconut Beach, them winning.
New Orleans.
Yeah, Evan Corey winning in Kenner.
In his home.
Yes, with the nightlights. Against a very capable Rafa Rodriguez and Peter Marciniak, highlighting Peter. Peter had some
He had some problems.
Yeah, but you still got to win that game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You still got to win that game. What if he has cramping and you still lose anyway? You know, you still got to get on the court and win that game.
Right.
So, night lights, which I love. First class setup. Big up to the AVP for the merchandising, making it look like a tour stop. So the product's there. Men's help's on the way. The women have arrived. And Doran and Beat. So, but delivery, I like Dane. I like Holly. I like John. I like you as coaches. Anyone who goes to the South Bay, Oz, private lessons, if he has time, if he even wants to do this anymore. He is technically strict. He's a savage. You know?
Well, when you talk about guys like Blaine and, he
Dane,
can
yeah.
come into any situation, right? I don't know Dane personally.
He's the only reason why I'm back in juniors.
Vertical range is really interested. You talk about companies that have vertically integrated products and stuff, or vertically integrated potential, right? Coaches, same thing. You have to be able to come down to any level to make your point. You could come out and talk all you want to your high-level verbiage and stuff like that, to your beginner or intermediate, and they just don't understand what you're talking. You have to come down to their level. You have to be able to assess the situation and take those baby steps and start wherever you need to start. And I think, I look at, one of my guys is Jose Loyola.
Yeah.
Right? Love how he does it. I love how he can come down to any level. I love his competitive spirit. He's just out there all the time. And he's doing good, right? And yet, it's funny.
Go ahead.
Because a couple of months back, he was working with one of his pros, and he's just up on the box, and he's just banging line, and she keeps shanking it out. I forget who it was. And he looks, and I stop, because I always like to stop and say hi or whatever, or just on my way to a venue, and I'll stop. I'll see him working out. He'll wave to me. I'll wave to him. He's like, hey, coach. You know what? Yeah, you know how that is, right?
Yeah, of course.
And he's looking at me, and he just puts his hands up. He puts his hands up like this, and he goes, Gene, help me out. What's happening here? And I said, she's missing that first little step. She's crossing her legs on that line dig. And he looked at me and he was like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what it is. But because we just miss it, because we're so expecting that, it's just innate. But I'm telling you that the same, many of the same things that I do at the beginner level, the same drills, those same side-to-side drills that you always see me warm my guys up with, right? We do them at the pro and the qualifier levels as well. You can never have enough touches, footwork-wise and passing-wise. You can never have enough touches. It's easy to let that slip away,
It's probably why he's enjoyed a lot of success with the men, with Trevor and Tri, and not so much with Sarah and whoever Sarah's been playing with. First it was Summer and Sarah, right? And then it's Brandy Wilkerson and Sarah. And there was also a style of coaching that is better equipped for men, where we were just talking about leadership through performance, where women, even though that leadership through performance is as applicable as well, it pales in comparison to sisterhood and camaraderie and being able to pick each other up, and that kind of I said it right the first time, camaraderie. Their production comes through togetherness.
That synergy that they develop.
Yeah, where the men there's like 5 different studies we could refer to, and I always vet my studies, and I bought into that, which by the way made me a better girls coach. I sucked as a girls coach. There's nothing worse in the world than like everyone doing what you ask and they still suck. You know what I'm saying? And I had to get with John to figure that out. And then when I got with John, I brought that philosophy back to Endless Summer, and now I'm back in the juniors game. And the juniors game, Jason Olive is doing, J.O., name from the past, is doing LA Indoor. And Dane took over for Stein for LA Beach. And again, we were talking about good human beings. Those are the only 2 reasons I'm back in juniors. I was done with juniors, but now I feel like I can coach girls again, because of those guys.
I have a funny story talking about being vertically, having a vertical range. You can't make the same points sometimes with the guys that you make with women.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you a funny instance. Okay, so
Miranda's
I
like,
tell
I'm all in.
okay, and this is not a gender. This is not a gender thing. I'm not
No,
discriminating or anything like that. So with my guys, I was like, hey, look, I need north-south. This east-west stuff is terrible. You're just, it's like going to Target and buying something and just take it to the register. Get that ball north-south. There's no need to go through ladies' lingerie and then over to housewares on the way to the register. Just go in and get your product and go right to the register,
It's
right?
like, dude, it's an HDMI cable. What are you doing in the lingerie section?
So I'm with the women now, right? And
Okay.
and I say the same thing, and they're like, "Huh? What is he talking about?" And it's like, "Okay, there's no need to go through automotive and sporting goods, right? Just take it directly to the register." And they're like, "Oh, I get it now. I see what you're saying."
Or they're even worse. Sometimes, as a coach, we detect this too. They'll shake their head like they do understand, and I look at them. I'm like, "Wait, you don't get it." That's pretty. That's awesome. But I'm glad they got it, because what I was talking about was I read the play A Few Good Men before it was a theater film.
Yeah.
And he referenced Moby Dick. And the lieutenant, who was like the assassinator, like kind of an ass kisser, shook his head or whatever. And then Colonel Jessup says, "Lieutenant," he says, "if you never read Moby Dick, I'm okay." He says, "but this whole thing while that you're shaking your head like you know what I'm talking about is embarrassing. If you never read it, just say, I never read it, but stop shaking your head." But the cool thing is, the moral of that story is, as coaches, when someone's shaking their head saying "okay," and it's like,
Yeah, it's not.
it's not.
It either is or it isn't. So again, it's like at the very beginning of this podcast, it's articulating in a manner by which they see it, and whatever you have to do to make them see what you see, so that it's memorable. And I guarantee you, those women, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And I was like, "You're going east-west on me again. There's too much east-west. Stay out of the automotives and sporting goods. Stick to go right, take that ball directly to the register. Let's get that ball to the register, So that's just a funny story.
All right, to hell with this volleyball thing. Let's talk karaoke. When I moved here, the first thing I did was find a place I can sing karaoke twice a week. When I'm in New York, I worked in a cardiology practice, and I was moonlighting volleyball. Just gave up sleep, coaching NCAA and working a 9 to 5, and the only way you can do that is not sleep. So building my brand, and when I decided to do volleyball, what happened was my escapism as a player became my career. A full-time career, no longer part-time. So when that happens to you, you or we as individuals need another form of escapism to go there and then come back, where allows us to do our job like a mammal, right? So there's some people that like to swim with sharks and shit and pet sharks. Oh, come on, okay, let's swim together. That's my wife, right? She likes to swim with sharks. For me, I'm thinking emergency snack, no thanks. Some people like to climb Kilimanjaro, and I'm afraid of heights and clowns. I'm like, bye. So for me, it's karaoke.
Yeah.
So I'm at Hennessy's.
It's your
Monday
escape.
night.
It's your distraction from life.
Yes, it's my Monday night is Hennessy's. Thursday is Tower 12, which we've been.
Right.
One's kind of a pubs thing.
And the other one that
thing.
I was talking to Greg the other day, there's another one opening in Manhattan. What's the other one in Manhattan?
Hennessy's
Oh,
in
Hennessy's. It's on a different night than the
Yeah.
Hennessy's in Hermosa, though.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, they were competing for a while. They were the same night. And what you're doing is you're splitting the crowd of a bunch of people that would probably all go to one place, because it is a way of life. It's a culture.
Yeah.
It is. There are a bunch of people that are out and think they're partying late, and then those people, they kind of leave like 9:30 and 10, right? And then his bar's empty. It only looks like there's 3 people, and then between 10:30 and 11:30, this whole sea of other people just come in. The place is it looks empty, and you're like, I'm going home. This place isn't crowded. And you 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, I'm gonna say it again. Those other people come in.
Love that.
These independently wealthy people, these unemployed people that don't have to sleep in, or these people that have a day job but don't give a damn. They're just
Like volleyball players.
Yeah. It's like, wait, I gotta go to work at 4. Let me just sing till 3 and then go to work, and then I'll sleep afterwards. Like volleyball players.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and that's the reason why we brought it up, right? Because that form of escapism and the culture of like these other group of people coming in. So I'd love you to come out and just chill.
I just want to hear how good. I just want to
Greg.
hear how good Greg sings Nat King Cole and
Yeah.
and Frank Sinatra, because I think I'd like to compete with him in the Frank Sinatra.
Good.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
Greg is a throwback. Greg is this guy in his 20s who, if he were in the 1940s listening to Frank or listening to Nat King Cole, you know, or listening to those guys, Luck Be a Lady, Fly Me to the Moon, he's a throwback, and he sings those songs really, really well.
Yeah, that's neat.
Me, I don't have a. Everyone's like, "What's your go-to song?" I'm like, I don't. I
Sweet
can-
transvestite.
Yeah, Miranda says
That's
"Sweet
what I've heard the
Transvestite." If
most.
you ever saw the Rocky Horror Show. No, I don't have a go-to song. I grew up singing choir for 6 years. I'm from a singing family. I'm the runt of that litter. They're all singers.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, in volleyball terms, for people volleyball, it's like I'm not an open player, but I can still whoop anyone's ass who's playing double A. so I'm the runt of that litter. But almost in any venue, I'm probably the best singer.
I have two go-to
Yeah.
songs.
What's that?
Night and Day,
Night and Day.
and a Jimmy Dean favorite of mine,
Go ahead.
Big John.
Get out.
Every morning
Big
at the
Bad
mine, you
John.
could meet him every morning at the mine. You could see him arrive. It's at 6'6" and weighed 245. Kind of broad, yeah. I love that song.
Big John.
Big
I
John.
know that song, dude. I think the country music songs I know that are spoken in text like that. Devil, We Went Down to Georgia, right? That's a
Yeah,
classic.
yeah.
Charlie Daniels Band.
Mhm.
The Boy Named Sue. Hank Williams Jr. No, Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
That's Johnny Cash.
Johnny
The
Cash.
Boy Named Sue.
Yeah, right.
Those are songs that are easy to sing because those are spoken.
Yeah, but they're so.
You just got to put some bass in your voice, though.
But there's a lot being said there, and A Boy Named Sue. That is a lot of stuff. It doesn't flow evenly. It's all over the place. Yeah,
I
that's
still
a
hate
great
that
song.
name.
Yeah.
My name is Sue. How do you do?
And that southern draw, you know.
Yeah. So Miranda, who's looking frightened, I think,
Oh, no.
is suggesting that our audience might not know either. So The Boy Named Sue is a Johnny Cash song about a guy who left the wife, left the kid, and his last act before he left her, put on the birth certificate that the boy's name's Sue. So he's growing up with this name, and it's tough. He's like the girls would laugh, my face turned red, and the guys would tease me, I'd bust their head.
Right.
Life ain't easy for a boy named Sue. So he winds up in this honky tonk, or I guess that's code for bar.
Gatlinburg.
Yeah, a saloon.
It was Gatlinburg in
Yes.
mid-July.
Yes.
Rode up, my throat was dry.
Yes, and he runs into that guy who named him Sue. And he says, "My name is Sue. How do you do?
Now
And you're gonna die."
You're gonna die.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I hit him down right between the eyes, and he got up, and to my surprise, pulled out a knife and cut off a piece of my ear. Well, I busted a chair right across his teeth, and we went through the walls into the street, kicking and gouging in the mud and the blood.
The blood and the beard.
Good song. Good song. A storyline.
Sounds so lighthearted.
Dude, The Boy Named Sue. Look, as far as stupid names go, I mean, there's no way to masculinize, if that's a word, the name Sue, right? Like, my kid's name is Braxton. It's unisex.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out I was expecting a girl. Shit, it's a boy. It's still Braxton. We're okay. You know, Kelly. Some guys named Kelly. Some guys and girls named Terry. The hell are you gonna do with Sue? It's just Sue.
Yeah.
Like Miranda, right? Ain't nobody messing up. Ain't nobody thinking you a guy. You know, you might hit like a guy if someone messes with you. Give him a 3-piece and a soda.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
So, yeah. So those are some of the country songs I like. I like A Country Boy Can Survive. Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah.
The preacher man says it's the end of time. Mississippi River, she's a growing dry. Yeah, I grew up. My dad's from Mexico, Missouri, my stepfather. So we used to take these long trips, and I listen, Brooklyn kid listening to country music songs, Because I'd sing the song, right? And everybody's, where you from? I'm like, New York.
New York City?
That's right.
Where in New York? New York City?
I remember someone teasing me, said I come from the trailer park, and I'm like, there are no trailer parks in Brooklyn, right? I said, there's a trailer park in rich-ass Hermosa Beach, but you ain't going to find no trailer park in Brooklyn. Oh, man. So we're going to get out of here. Is there a particular, you have an Insta handle? Like, people want to know more about Coach Dolan. I know you're a private guy, but anyone might have some questions where they can, DM you. Or,
Just the name of my coaching is Single Source
Single
Volleyball.
Source? Oh, cool.
And you can contact me by texting me.
Yeah.
And I have not set up a web page as yet because
Yeah.
I'm currently at 104 people.
Right.
And I'm kind of trying to.
If you did, it would be ever changing. You got
ever changing. I'd have to change the structure of my company a little
Yeah.
bit too in order to do that. So
I can't even imagine. Yeah, no wonder. Look,
4 people.
I'm by myself, and I have the option vb.com, but now I want to do a blog. I have to change the website.
Yeah.
I want to do written blogs because people don't think I can write. I can write.
But we do have a promo video that we send out to new people and stuff like that. And
What's it called?
Well, it's Single Source Volleyball.
Single Source Volleyball.
And it's 310-498-6740.
There it is.
Text, and we'll send you the video. And if you see something that we can do for you, and again, I spend most of my time getting higher level groups together so that we can see that synergy and develop that synergy. And what we try to do there is we try to bring the objectives of the game, the fundamentals and the objectives of the game into clearer view. We are vertically integrated, so we can bring you wherever you want to take the game. We can get you there.
Nice.
I have a good staff. We have good people that work with me and stuff like that. So, we can get people on board. So that's it.
You are everything the sport needs. You represent everything that the sport should continue to do. You represent everything good about the sport. I'm very, very happy to have talked to you. I'm very happy that you and I, we indulge in these conversations here and there periodically. We're on a strand. You come from coaching. I'm out there. I'm doing a private. Once a month I'll get it in as a player where no one's watching. And I'm very, very glad to know you. I'm very glad to have known you. And I'm very glad that you came on this podcast.
Jason, it's always fun to talk volley talk with people that have not just ability, but just a love for the sport. It's funny. I was talking to Mark this morning. He was coaching Zana.
Gehrig?
Fishman. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And he's like, some people this, some people that. And I looked at him and I was like, what, Mark? It just boils down to some people have a greater appetite for hate and resentment than they do for love and compassion. Him and I love this sport. You love this sport. That's why we're involved in it. That's where it has to start. If you're in this sport as a coach to make money, you're probably not going to do well. If you love this sport and you want to see this community and you want to help create those paths and you're willing that tireless effort to continuous improvement and stuff like that, to harvest what these athletes bring to you and trust with you, then you're in the right spot. And that's where I see myself. And it is always fun to talk to people that share that vision. I see you as one of those people. Yeah. So it's an honor, and I'm proud and honored to be involved with this community and people like you. We all look out for each other. We all know what each other is doing. And let's build something together. Let's build something exciting and share in that togetherness, and let's just make it happen.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you close up shop. That I had something I was gonna say afterward, but ain't no way, no. I would cut my wrist if I said something after that. So listen, Gene Dolan might love you guys, but me, I I was gonna say I can't stand you, but you know what? After that, I think I love you too. I love you guys too. All right. Usually I say I'm out of here. I can't stand you, but no, not today. I love you guys too. So for everybody watching this at home, for everybody who's catching the live version, pre-post lunch, for everyone on your Droid, iPhone, desktop, iPad, from my boy Gene Dolan, and from Miranda. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Jason DeBeas. This is episode 116 of the Option Podcast. First Avery Drost, now you, man. It's in tandem, man. And for all of you, we say we're out. So long. Check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.